Welcome to part one of our three-part video on how to build the Holybro X500 version 2 drone. What we're going to start with in part one is building the actual drone itself with the kit. Part two will cover the electronics, and part three will cover programming. For part one, you want to go ahead and lay out a workspace for yourself with all of the components you're going to need to build the actual drone. So get yourself a space and go ahead and lay everything out. And then what you're going to need to do is get the instructions. You should have these in your kit. And these instructions are a bit like Lego instructions. There's just a picture and it assumes you know what to do. So we're going to go ahead and go through this. But we're going to start here with step one, where we attach the motor onto the carbon fiber arms. And then we're going to go ahead and put the end caps on. And before we seal it all up, we're going to attach the electronic components, because it will be difficult to do that if we wait until it's already sealed up. So we're going to go ahead and do that step first. So get everything you're going to need for that. One of the first things you're going to need is you're going to have your base plates here, and the one we're going to want is the one with the writing on it. And so you're going to want to take this one, and this arrow is pointed forward to the front of your drone, and then you'll notice here that you have a space for motor 1 and motor 2, which will both spin counterclockwise, and then you'll have a spot for motor 3 and motor 4, which will spin clockwise. Go ahead and lay that out as your guide, and then you're going to want to locate your motors, and on the bottom of your motors you should have them labeled. So this particular one is M3, and you'll notice it has a black cap or a black screw, and what that indicates is that the prop will rotate to the right. So you put the black prop on there later. We're not going to put the props on until the very end because we don't need them right now. So go ahead and line up your motors first. So you're just going to line them up with the number here. So M4 goes with M4, M2 here with M2, and now I'm ready to put those in the correct order. This is important, or your drone won't fly if you don't get this step right. So now we're going to line up the ESCs. So we've got motor 1. We'll put it over here. Motor 2. Motor 3. And motor 4. This should be. So you just want to make sure you get those all lined up properly. And then your next step will be to go ahead and feed this through the actual base. And then you're going to go ahead and plug it in, because in a few minutes we're going to seal this up. So I'll pause the video while you go ahead and get that all plugged in. But you'll notice here how difficult this would be if you waited. So just make sure you get that nice seal on there, and then push that through. Go ahead and set it down, and go ahead and proceed to do all of your motors, the correct motor with the correct ESC. Okay, going back to step 1, you'll notice that you do need the socket cap screws M2.5 12, and so what you're going to want to do is locate that baggie, and which will look something like this, and you're going to want to go ahead and use those to screw in these caps. So I'm going to go ahead and get a few out here, and then you're going to want to use the middle size Allen wrench, and you're going to go ahead and take each motor and make sure that that's connected correctly through there first. If you need to give it a little pinch, go ahead and tighten it down, and then pull that through. Snap a cap right on the top, and then proceed to just use the screw to go ahead and seal those down. So you'll need 2 per motor, and I'll pause the video at this point, but go ahead and get those screwed in, and you're going to want to do all 8. Okay, so now we've got all 4 motors with their ESCs properly attached and sealed up. So the next step, what we'll look at here, is to go ahead and attach the motor arm and the clamps on the end. So we're going to go ahead and need to get these screws, so socket cap screws, 2.5 10 millimeter, and the motor and the carbon fiber tube arms, and then we're also going to need these nylon parts right here. So we'll go ahead and get started with the tube arms, and these are my tube arms. Last semester I went ahead and labeled it with the registration number, but I also put yellow stickers on 2 of them indicating that those were my back 2. So since this is the front of the drone, these yellow ones are going to go back here on motors 4 and 2, and then these ones are going to go here on motors 1 and 3. So let me get what I need, and then I'll start the video again. Okay, for the last part of step 1, what you want to do is grab your carbon fiber tube arm, and you're going to notice that there's 2 holes on both sides right here. So you're going to want to put that in the end piece right here, and then on the other end is a stopper, and so you're going to want to insert that into the motor. So go ahead and grab your parts here. You're going to need all of these nylon caps, and you're going to feed the wires through the tube arm, and then this groove right there will go in the top, because if you look inside here there's a notch, so you're going to want to center it just like that. And actually you're probably going to have to loosen up these a little bit, so go ahead and loosen these first 2 little nuts until you are able to push that in there. And you might even have to loosen these back too if it's too tight. So just go ahead and loosen those enough. And then once you're able to, you'll be able to push that in there. Again, make sure that top notch is centered, and then push it all the way in to make sure that that locks in there. And then you can fasten these back down. Once you have these fastened tight, then you're going to go ahead and put the end caps on the other end, and they'll keep the leg attached so the tube arm doesn't just slide out and fall off with the motor. And you'll notice on these little end caps that there's a hole and 2 little brackets, so you're going to want to line that up right here and insert it right there till it fits in that notch, and then find the opposite end and do the same thing, and you'll just snap that down. For right now we won't be putting the screws in, but go ahead and just feed all 4 arms until you have them ready to go like that, and then we'll proceed to the next step. Okay, right now we're going to start with step 2, which is the battery mounting board. And so you're going to want to gather the battery pad and the platform board along with the slide bars and all of the hanger pieces. And your kit may have been disassembled more than this, so you're going to want to check. These two arms right here should be attached. If not, go ahead and attach them. And then also you should have some of these hanging clips here. Make sure that the rubber inserts are inside of them. And then you're going to have 4 additional hanging clips, and your rubber inserts may or may not be in there, so go ahead and insert them into all of the clips so you have them like this. And then what you can go ahead and do is snap these clips onto the bar, and then you're going to add 2 clips for the backing, and we're going to go ahead and make these point downward. These are the back 2. And then you'll notice that you need 2 more right here in between this clip. So we're going to add these 2 now, pointing down as well. And then you're going to put this on sort of sideways. So this platform board will go this direction. So once you have it done completely, it should look something like this, and you'll be tweaking it a little bit, moving it around a little bit back and forth, so it's good enough for right now. So that's the completion of step 2. Now we're moving on to step 3. So we are going to be building this portion of the drone right now. So go ahead and find yourselves the parts you're going to need. Your bottom mounting board. You're going to need your battery mounting board here. You're going to need your power distribution unit right here, and then you're going to need a couple sets of screws. This set here is going to be your 3 by 5 millimeters, so you can check it here and make sure that it fits in the 3 slot and that it is 5 millimeters long. Then you're going to check these. These are your M3s, and so they fit there, as well as is 14 millimeters long, so make sure you get the right sets of screws. Then you're going to have the little lock nut and the little spacer. The standoff is what it's called, the nylon standoff piece right there. So rather than mounting this board directly on here first, that would make it difficult to get these screws up underneath here. So we're going to set this aside just temporarily, long enough to go ahead and align your pieces. Make sure you have them correctly. Right here. And go ahead and insert the 14 millimeter screw up through here, and then you're going to put a spacer on it. So first insert all of these with their spacers. And the reason these spacers are important is because you do not want the metal conductivity to be on this plate. You could short circuit your board. So the nylon standoff will create that distance from the board so that you can now go ahead and put the power distribution board on. And you may not want to tighten it all the way down just in case it doesn't quite align, but that should work. And then go ahead and put the lock nuts on the top. And in a minute you'll use a screwdriver and an Allen wrench to tighten these down. So go ahead and proceed with that step for now. You can use this little lock tightener to go ahead and tighten these. I would do each one a little bit before tightening them all the way, just so that it's not uneven. So I'll do a couple turns on each one. And go ahead and finish that step out. Just tighten these down. We'll come back to you after I'm done. Now that you've got your power distribution board put onto the bottom plate, it should look like this. Should be nice and tight and sunk in with the lock nuts, and then the base should look like this. And then now what you're going to do is you're going to have this upside down, and you're going to need to move these back and forth depending on where they line up with this board. But you'll go ahead and put it like this, and then you're going to use these screws to go ahead and put in 2 for each little hanging wing cap. So go ahead and do that piece and get those tightened down and align them as needed. When you're finished with step 3, it should look like this. And now we move on to step 4. So for step 4, we're going to go ahead and put the landing gear on with the vertical poles, and then the landing gear crossbars, and mount them to the bottom of the board. We are going to need these 8-piece M3 8mm socket screws, and we're going to go ahead and you might need to loosen these first before you put the vertical pole into the landing gear, in which case you're going to need this larger Allen wrench, and then just insert that in there, tighten it down. And then it should look like that. And you're going to go ahead and mount each side with those 8mm screws like that. So just go ahead and mount those 2 right now. Nice. I'll come back when I'm done. Alright, once you're finished with step 4, this is what your drone will look like. So just ensure that you've got everything screwed down tightly. And then we're going to move on to step 5. And step 5, we're going to attach the arms and the rotors. So at that point, you're going to need to have a helper. So make sure you've got someone to help you. A couple tools you're going to need are the wrench and the Allen wrench, the larger one. Make sure that you get your M38 screws here to go through the top, and you also want the flange lock nuts, M3s. So get all of this ready, and then get your buddy, and you're going to go ahead and follow along as we will demonstrate to you here how to do this part. The other step I did forget to mention is to make sure that you align all your motors to this. So just make sure you get your motors lined up so that you don't put them on wrong. So you've got to have them correct right here.
You also will need this PWM breakout board, as we're going to connect everything at once. That way once everything's sandwiched together, we don't have to touch anything again.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
Should we just start holding them?
So we'll start with this. I'll have one person will hold it and plug them in here. And then you'll plug this cable into the corresponding spot on this breakout board.
Let's move a little forward too.
On this piece, the white wire will be facing up, and this is motor 2, so this will go into the number 2 slot. And you will just repeat that for each motor.
So our battery died on that last clip, but you want to go ahead and make sure you tighten all these down with these flange nuts on the bottom, and you'll go ahead and just use your wrench to hold that screw in place below, and then just tighten it from here, and just do that to all 16 of those. And then you're going to want to go ahead and tighten all of these as well. Make sure they're level. And then like this one right here, if you can see it, is crooked. So I'm going to have to actually loosen it up a little bit and then level it out. So go ahead and take the time and do that. Make sure everything is screwed in tight and level.